Good evening, this is Gabriel Jackson, and welcome to BJC Mitzvah A, number 73, part 2, the prohibition to eat Tereifah, using the Sefer HaChinuch, Parshas Mishpatim. Here we go. We talked about the pasuk the verse says, people of holiness, shall you be to me, flesh of a creature torn in the field, you shall not eat, to the dog shall you throw it. Now let's get more into depth into this mitzvah. We are commanded not to eat of a Tereifah, as it is stated in Exodus. Flesh of a creature torn in the field, you shall not eat. The evident, simple meaning of this verse is to warn us against eating an animal that a wolf or lion mauled in the field, and more specifically, that it mauled the animal in such a manner that it is inclined to die as a result of that mauling. For surely it is not the meaning of the verse that if the predator merely nicked the tip of the animal's ear or plucked out some of its wool, it should be considered torn and hence prohibited on that account, meaning that would be fine to eat. Rather, certainly the sound and logical meaning of the verse, which additionally is supported by the oral tradition, is that the animal was mauled to the extent that it will die momentarily or in a relatively short time as a result of that mauling. The sages of blessed memory said in Chulin that this short amount of time is 1 year. So it's a little bit longer than you thought. Thus, the verse is teaching that if an animal is mauled and suffers a wound that will cause its death within a year, then even if the animal is slaughtered through a proper shechita, a proper slaughtering, its meat is prohibited. Having clarified that when the verse states torn, it means that the animal suffered a fatal wound, the Chinuch focuses on the circumstances of the mauling and the meaning of the verse's words, in the field. Furthermore, it is clearly to be understood by every discerning person that the Torah does not mean to be particular and to limit the prohibition of a Tereifah to the specific case where this fatal defect was brought upon the animal through mauling by a wild animal such as a wolf, lion, or bear in the field. Rather, the Torah mentions torn in the field as a prototype of Tereifah, but actually means to prohibit any animal that suffered a type of wound that will deliver it to its death in any event, i.e. a fatal wound, regardless of the circumstances through which this wound came about. And this includes all the wounds and defects that the sages listed as fatal, following the basic principle of Tereifah law, as transmitted to us in the Mishnah. This is the general rule. Any slaughtered animal possessing a defect, because of which a living animal similarly affected would not live more than 12 months, is a Tereifah. And as for that which the verse states in the field, it does not mean to prohibit specifically the meat of an animal that is mauled in the wild. Rather, it is the way of Scripture to always speak of that which is common. And out in the fields, it is the norm for wild beasts to maul other animals. Realistically, though, an animal that possesses one of the fatal defects that the sages listed is deemed Tereifah wherever and however it contracted its defect, and even if it was born with the defect. This is also stated in Mechilta. The verse merely speaks of that which is common. It does not mean that the law of Tereifah hinges on the animals being torn in the field. Okay, we'll continue with this mitzvah tomorrow. Thanks for listening to Sponsor Feature Mitzvah 36. 100 for the gold. See you tomorrow.